the moment you realize that that is ChatGPT generated, you've lost the trust in the story too.
If your thumbnail is, I just almost died, I'm sorry, but that video better have you almost dying.
Can't lose no matter your momentum.
These little things that just break convention, that break reality.
You write your script, you read from a teleprompter and say sorry.
I am biting my tongue right now. Spoiler alert.
Absolutely. Don't go silent. That's the worst thing you could do. It's like stonewalling someone in a relationship.
3, 2, 1, boom.
I think there's a problem in the landscape at the moment. I think things have changed a lot. There's less emphasis on follower count, and there's a lot of distrust in the space. And I want to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. There's been a great shift in general. And I mean, it's always changing, and there's flows and that you have to follow based on not just the platforms, but I think social media in general. I remember the days of like early Instagram where it was this polished, like almost larger than life highlight reel that would create aspiration and therefore followers. And you see those exact same creators struggling now. And that's because we're now leaning into authenticity. We're leaning into realness. And I think that old game of doing things has been exposed, right? And oh, the Lambos were rented. Got it. Okay. Like, oh, Facetune is a real thing. Got it. But you're right, that shift, as did, come this new experience, if you will, is continuing to change as well. And so too are the platforms continuing to change again.
It's almost like from 2015 to 2020, that was acceptable because people didn't know better. I would even say further back than that, actually. We didn't have the intel to dig deeper into that, to go, wait, do you own that? Or, did you get a BBL, or do you actually have the fitness expertise to be telling me this lesson? And I think now, because followers, unfortunately, audiences have been cut many a times by these influencers who, have taught these lessons over however many years, and then it comes out that they're maybe not who they say they are, or the credibility isn't quite there. So the trust has been broken. And so now audiences are more skeptical from the jump. It's far harder to earn the trust, but there are also a lot of creators out there who are making some mistakes in terms of gaining that trust from the jump. They're not realizing that the evidence you have to provide your audience now is simply greater. And the decisions you make along the way will dictate whether you earn that trust or not. And we're going to go into it today, but it's some obvious decisions, right? Whether you just show the Lambo, or whether you give a little bit more proof than this. And then some less obvious decisions that you might be doing, but you don't realize are breaking trust again and again and again. And it can be as simple as coming up or showing up on Instagram every day and posting something different every day that doesn't align back to a central message. That's a distrustful person. If you met up with a friend every day and they had something new to say every day, a new set of values and morals, you wouldn't trust that person. Comes back to that first principles thinking. Somebody who comes, to your coffee date every day and they say, similar things, they have that similar set of beliefs, that's someone who has predictable behavior, so you can learn to trust them over time. And social platforms work the same way.
Well, and we're in that era now where cameras are everywhere, right? Phones are everywhere. And so, the old game of being able to manufacture a lot of these things is now being exposed, where you'll have many instances, celebrities even, let alone social media people, that will portray one side of themselves on camera and to the platforms, but then of course they'll get caught out at a coffee shop losing it to a barista, and all of a sudden the trust is broken because you've been exposed as not necessarily being the person that you said that
it's
you were.
It's kind of like Ellen DeGeneres, the whole nice guy effect of you make that your whole brand message and then perhaps you don't honor it in all instances, and you will be found out.
There's so many examples of it. And I think also, in addition, I wanted to add this to what you mentioned. More of the experts are willing to step up and expose things now too. So you used the example in the fitness era where there were, let's just use the female angle. Guys were doing this as well with steroids and all this different use, and women with, whether it be fake breasts or liposuction surgery or BBLs that they wouldn't tell their audience about, and then portray these results you now have experts willing to be like, no, that's a BBL. Like, yes, I live and work in this industry, and that is a BBL. I can tell you why, I can show you why. And so with that, as a community, the entire audience is becoming more educated. So now you're actually going to get rewarded being like, hey, I work my ass off, but just know I also got XYZ done. It's why on TikTok, I forget how it came about, but Kylie went onto someone's post because they literally said, what breasts did you get? Right? Like, I know you've had something done. Yeah. And she went on, this is the size, this was the procedure, and of course she gets praised for that.
Yeah.
Because authenticity.
In that culture, it's like, you're a girl's girl, you're helping out the girls if they want to get the same thing done.
Well, you're also just being honest.
Yes.
Right? Like, thank you for telling the truth.
Yeah.
That's really all we wanted.
Yeah.
We don't want to be lied to. And so that's the real key here. Like, when I go to the movies, yes, I understand some director yelled action, right? Some makeup artist came in. Good movies make you feel like that didn't happen, but right? We all know. Social is a really weird beast unto its own. It's the wild, wild west, and it is much easier to make people think that there was no director yelling action and that the makeup wasn't there, but you're gonna win by being honest and real about it. We're seeing it now where people are posting lip sync videos that perform really well, and then they'll set up another camera wide and it will show the husband with a hairdryer underneath and the friend with a balloon popping the tassels, and you see the reality of this thing. Yes. And that thing gets millions of views. Why? Because it's real.
More than
thank you for showing me the truth. You just want truth.
Absolutely. I want to discuss why this trust collapsed in the first place, because I think it's going to help people understand the landscape they're dealing with and then the decisions to make within it. So I think we also need to be very real that the rise of AI is impacting this.
Can I interrupt you really quickly there? Because I have a funny thing. This happened literally last night. Yeah. My wife sends me these videos all the time on Instagram, right? We send each other stuff. Often it's either cats or dogs related, right? Because we have both. Yeah. She sends me this video and it's a cat being introduced to a family in an unconventional way, which often does happen, right? We actually found our cat. He climbed into her car when she was on her way to the gym, and it was like, we're adopting this cat then.
Yeah.
This video, to me, was just AI from the rip. I was like, straight away. To her, she'd watched this 2-minute story and her heart had just like poured out over this cat finding this family, and then they let it out into the wild, and it was like, yeah, the best.
And how'd they get all this?
Yeah, and she was heartbroken when first AI. I mean, it's cute, but AI. And she's like, we were about to share this tearful moment. Yeah, and so I have to interject on that, because though that's a funny real life experience that I just had, the same as what we just talked about with the BBLs and the this and the that is going to happen with AI,
yes,
right?
It's happening right now.
Audiences,
you're obviously in the industry, so you're a bit more attuned to that. But the next layer of that is people being educated further, just like it happened in previous industries.
I watched this I saw this fantastic post on LinkedIn. We've talked about LinkedIn a lot, and this was a professional visual design creative director that had posted it, and he was like, once you see this, you can't unsee it. Totally. He's like, I understand how difficult it is. This is an image. Just know that it's AI. It looked, even to me, I was like, looks pretty damn real to me. He circled these little parts, and he's like, it's not always about finding what's unpolished. It's not always about finding what is polished. It's these little things that just break convention, that break reality. Mm-hmm. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. And he was so right. It was so small. It was like these little wooden lines, and I was like, okay.
Yeah. And that's in terms of the visual. That's happened in terms of ChatGPT. And as a copywriter, I've loved watching this, because there was a time when primarily it was chat that was just released. That was what everyone was using. I think people have now gravitated towards their own preference. But when that first dropped and people discovered, I don't have to write my captions anymore, I don't have to write my scripts anymore, well, we saw this surgence of, ChatGPT generated content. And initially, people couldn't really tell otherwise because, yeah, the grammar's pretty perfect. Still telling the story you wanted to tell. You know, a lot of people take time and put energy into their captions anyway, especially if they're trying to get a certain message across. So it's not absurd that there would be these profound sentences, right? Everyone, I would say, almost everyone is now caught on to the behaviors that come through from a ChatGPT in terms of caption writing, in terms of any sort of content in general. We talk about it internally, you know, M dashes, certain sentence structures. Even it typically repeats like a 3-sentence structure in order to make a point. There are these patterns that it latches to in terms of copywriting that people are so attuned to that I've seen it many times in comment sections now. A heartfelt video, maybe it's a wedding video, or even a heartbreaking moment in their lives, and they're detailing this experience, and somebody will go, "So heartbreaking, you had to use ChatGPT to write the caption."
I knew where you were going with that before you said it, and it's so true, because we've all seen it at this point, and the audiences once again are getting educated, and it's so true. And what a shame, this beautiful video that was real, that was authentic, that was heart, and then you just ChatGPT the thing. I mean, dude, we're seeing it everywhere at this point, from like letters being written to people, emails that are being written, and thank you so much for the well thought out, the thought provoking. I was like, you would never say, and it's patterns. That's exactly what it is. It's sentence structures. Originally it was just M dashes, right? It's like, oh, M dash, but that's easy to fix. Like, you can just go in and amend that very easily. But you're right, it's way deeper than that. It's sentence structuring, it's everything. And the sad part of it is, and we have this even in our own company, because we have to leverage AI. Of course we do. We would be left behind if we don't. The sad part of it all is that it creates a preconceived perception. And so if, for example, your client receives something that you might have sweated over for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, but what you did is took what you worked really, really hard on and is original IP, and you put it into a formatting AI that just makes it sound more professional, corrected any grammar issues, etc., etc. Their initial reaction when they see that, if they recognize any of those patterns from AI, is that you didn't even take 10 minutes on it.
Perception is everything. And it's the same with social audiences.
That's exactly
because the moment you realize that is, ChatGPT generated, you've lost the trust in the story too, which is the real problem and the real, breaking of it. And we're talking about, the breaking of trust here. That's something that's hard to repair, because then, just like any relationship, you're now going, what else have you used that for that I now potentially can't trust you with? What else have you outsourced? Potentially, if you're, using ChatGPT to generate the components of the story, well, would you then be, maybe you'd be willing to get ChatGPT to make up a story that's interesting, that's related to your niche. So you can see where, like, this trust just falls apart. And that's where we're not saying, as you said, we use it. Don't use AI. But be strategic with it and know the importance of bringing in that human element, because if you don't, you will lose that trust, and that's very hard to repair, and you will lose a moment with your audience that could have been really, really powerful to you having outsourced, the actual execution of the content.
100%. And hey, this obviously isn't just about AI. AI is a massive component to it, especially in this like trust economy right now, which is probably a better way to look at it. I think we've had the attention economy, and that was arguably like up until now. Like, there's still an element of the attention economy importance, but I think you have got to look at it right now as the trust economy. We refer to it as authority, because authority is the compounding effect of trust, right? Like, that's what it is. And there's so many other things that break that trust. This rage bait culture or clickbait culture is another great way that it happens. We work with a lot of very large YouTubers, and the golden rule on YouTube is, number one, you need to earn the click, right? You've got to get that CTR, click-through rate. You do that through a powerful title. You do that through a powerful thumbnail. Rule number two, and it's closely followed, right, is you need to make sure that earned trust is paid for, right? You need to now back that up.
That you deliver on the promise.
Yeah, if your thumbnail is, I just almost died, I'm sorry, but that video better have you almost dying, right? Because otherwise, how do I trust you anymore?
Yeah. Well, this happened to me the other day. I was scrolling my Explore page and I follow Jesse James West, like his content. He's a great creator. But you're seeing a lot of AI use in thumbnails now, of course.
I might know where you're going with this. Keep going, because I had the same thought if it is.
And he does a series where he goes and tries celebrity gyms, and he was trying Kylie Jenner's gym. And I thought, I've watched it before. I like his content. I like this series. But this seems a level up even for him in terms of, why is Kylie Jenner opening her gym? This is crazy. I wanted to even know her kind of marketing stance with it. Why is she choosing to be this open on YouTube? Because that is strategic.
I am biting my tongue right now. Spoiler alert.
Absolutely. So naturally, I do what anyone would do, and I click through. And I'm looking through. I'm trying to find where, like, he's going through a bunch of other celebrities. I'm trying to find Kylie's. Can't see it. Scroll straight to the comments. Everybody's having the same question I am.
She is nowhere to be seen.
She's nowhere to be seen.
And the sad part of that is that video is really good.
Yeah.
It was funny. It was entertaining. It was educational. It was a really good video.
Yeah.
So I watched the video. So for the video, it earned my watch. I now have a preconceived perception of that creator now.
Yes.
Of like, but you can't trust his future videos. Mm-hmm. So I might not, like, he tricked me into the first click. The video kept me, but there was disappointment attached to the result, even though it was a good video. So now on the next one,
I'm thinking the same
not getting my click.
Yeah. And I mean, I even think there's a male-female element to this. That would have captured both, right? Kylie Jenner would capture both, but also a heavier female audience than Jessie would usually attract. Mm. So as a female, I don't watch all of Jessie's videos. I'm not like a, serial every single time.
I don't even think there was a female in that video.
That's it. And I know that because I've watched the series before, that it's usually male. So I thought, this is going to promise me not just Kylie, but more of a balance between females and males. So I'm also disappointed in that way. So then I know for next time, it's probably going to be the same. It's probably going to be a bit more male centric. So I probably won't click.
Not going to earn your trust. Yeah. So the knock on for that is all those females that were attracted were shown in an instant, in the matter of a single video. Don't trust this person. And all the guys that clicked on it that might have still been because I would have clicked it if it was Richard Branson on the front, because he went to Necker Island. I was like, holy shit, Richard Branson, like, he would have got my click anyway.
Yes.
Now I don't trust him though. So it's a lose-lose.
You're still like, you might not get the person you see on the thumbnail.
Yeah, and it's not to bash that individual creator, and very successful in his own right. And like I said, the video was fantastic.
It may have paid off.
Well, I think the important thing is that, like, it didn't pay off. It's not even questionable in my mind. The fact that two people, we've not talked about this. We have not even, like, as soon as you mentioned his name, I knew, because I had that same distrust attached to it. Yep. So it didn't pay off, in what matters. And that is trust, and that's authority. And that's what matters long term right now. It's not the attention economy anymore. True. 3 years ago, it wouldn't have mattered. Yep. Everyone was doing it. Who cared? Oh, it's expected.
But he would also tell himself, well, it did well. So you guys can talk in the comments, but it did well. And
that's fine, but like it's the difference between somebody, and again, this is 2, 3, 4 years ago, the game has changed, where I remember seeing an example where someone ran a Facebook ad and it had nothing to do with the ad. They went into the comments section themselves and said Trump or Biden, and they started a comment war, a political comment war in the comments of their ads. Right. And it was heralded as this genius marketing tactic because it told the algorithm that this is a piece of content that people want to engage in, and thus it got populated more. Now, again, short term, great win, right? Like, no wonder they went on a podcast and celebrated it. We got 1 million organic impressions on this piece of content. Long term, trust in the toilet. Yeah. I mean, you might have gotten away.
What are you known for?
Exactly, and you might have gotten away with it if you didn't then confirm that it was you that ignited it, right? If it happened organically and it was genuinely a happy accident that just created more attention to your post, and of that 1 million new people that otherwise wouldn't have seen the content, a percent of them converted into your thing because they just happened to be interested in what you were actually selling. It's almost like a happy accident. The fact that you then got exposed, but you exposed yourself, takes it a layer deeper into the trust world of like, well, now I can't trust that brand. Now I can't trust this individual. It's why so many gurus in the sort of marketing and grow on Instagram, like if it gets to the point where authenticity is questioned, you're done for. I hate to tie it back to our frameworks, a sparkle, a bonfire, but these bonfires matter. Like realness, authenticity matters. The last thing that I actually want to shift us into is the power of micro communities, because the old game of like these massive like attention, top of funnel, million views, viral, like. We have clients now with 40,000 followers earning more revenue than some of our clients with millions. We have people on TikTok with 10 plus million followers, like unbelievable amount of audience. Often their videos still struggle to break 100,000 views. 10 million followers, still struggling to break 100,000 views, even though 100,000 is a lot of views, proportionately should be easy. And secondly, there's no revenue off the back of it because it's just empty following. It's empty audience. And so that's what I mean when I say the game has changed and it is now a trust economy. It is now an authenticity economy. It is an authority economy. And that's so important for people to understand, because genuinely the power of micro communities that trust you and believe in you and you have a product to sell, they will rally behind that. I
totally agree.
I'll give you one example. I've seen these live streamers do it incredibly well. I forget the guy's name, but he was on a live stream and he was showing someone in the business world the power of a real community. And he went live and there was, 5,000 people, which is a lot of people for a live, but it's not like, wow, he had 1 million people watching him at once, but 5,000 people. It might have even been smaller than that. And he said, hey guys, we've got this product here. It's $10. We're going to show this guy the power of a community. Now, listen, if you can't afford it, please do not buy this thing. Those of you that can, those that support my content, I've never charged you a penny, but this is your one time to be like, you know what? He's giving me so much value. I'm going to buy this $10 thing from him. In 10 seconds, I want you to just click the buy button. Here's the link. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom, that thing sold out in like a millisecond. And this business guy is looking at him like, you just made 10 grand. We just made 10 grand in 2 seconds. I would say it was about 1 second.
I can think of people I would do that for, purely from you want to feel part of something in that moment, but you're also happy to give back in that way. I love being a part of this community. Yes, it's worth it.
I've bought creators merch when I'm not a huge fan of the merch, but I'm like, I want to support that creator. They've given me that much value.
Totally. Another thing I want to talk about, because, we were talking about the importance of that movement to seeing your community as a micro community. And for some people, what they have is a micro community, but the creators who also have a very large audience and build that larger community as well, the ones that are successful in that still treat their large community like a micro community. That's the thread I feel that you can't lose no matter your momentum. And someone who comes to mind when I think about that right now is Alex Earle, and how well she continues to do with that. Particularly, you might have seen the thing that's gone off right now. She's just been on Dancing with the Stars. Then she broke up with her longtime boyfriend. She shared a lot of that relationship online with Brandon. And yeah, she came on eventually. Obviously, there was a period where she was a bit more silent about it. But she came on and then announced, I've shared everything else with you guys, so I'm also going to share this aspect. We have broken up. She's clearly still going through it in the moment. Now, this isn't such that everybody has to share, but she has built her personal brand on sharing the realities of her growth as a person, of her, wading through her 20s, the realities of that, the truth of it, being honest at every juncture. So this is no different. And she could have done the pivot that a lot of, macro influencers will do when they're starting to get into that celebrity realm. We even kind of saw it with Emma Chamberlain. You start to let mainstream media speak for you. So people were already questioning, have they broken up? She could have made a statement to the press and then it would have broken the news for her and she doesn't have to speak on it, right? But she chose to still come to her TikTok audience, share that in a very vulnerable, real way, and double down on that trust. Like saying, I'm not going to let other people speak for me. We're going to still have that direct kind of one-way street conversation. And as a result, of course, everyone's rallying. Everyone feels closer to her than ever. And it is that sense of nothing's changed. She's got a way bigger audience. She's just Dancing with the Stars. She's entering mainstream markets. But that connection with her audience is the same as when she would have had a micro community.
And I want to, because I know exactly what you mean. It's a two-way street, and that's important because it's a communication to you guys as my audience, and I'm going to open the comment section. I'm going to hear your feedback. I'm going to engage with that. It's a two-way street, and you're absolutely right because we're wrestling with this a little bit in terms of mediums and platforms. And a little while ago, probably 5 years ago, there was this surgence of like, text me at this number. And it was the main brand in that space, probably still exists, was called Community. Great idea. And probably still a fantastic business model, to be fair. But essentially the whole play here is that as a creator, you can get a proxy number, and it's a real number, but that people can text that number and it will go through to like a CMS, like a management system that you can manage all of the audience in a one-to-many fashion or a one-to-one fashion. Great concept. Now, broadcast channels came on Instagram, for example, just as an example. Again, really great idea. For me, the execution isn't quite there yet. And because that's one way, and that's the problem. It's just it is what it says on the tin. I'll give them that. They were very accurate with the statement. You're just broadcasting messages. That isn't trust building. That is not how you build a community. That is not how...
connection to you, because I can't come back the way, but also to the other people.
100%. So true.
And, joining arms with anyone.
Yeah, that's a great point. A really great point. And so, anyway, if you're working on product at Instagram, easy change. Like, I would argue you got the tech. I've seen Facebook community groups. Like, you could do it. I believe in you. But that's so true. As a creator, you've got to take that into consideration when you think about what platforms you're going to use to create these micro communities. It's why people start going into Discords. It's why, I'm having to go off platform here, for that very reason. And great example in Alex Earle. I didn't know she broke up with her boyfriend. I didn't know she had a boyfriend.
Yes. I did want to note, though, like I said, with her, she knows that that's what her audience expects of her because she built her authority on that, right? That she's going to be real and raw about those lessons and that growth in her 20s, however that looks. And so she knows in a moment like that, it's pivotal how I act, right? That's going to look different for a lot of different personal brands. But if you've built your message or your stance on something in particular, you have to know then what the right move to do is in a particular situation. I say this because there have been, well, both on the brand side, but also the personal brand side, certain issues that would come out, right? Whether it's political, whether it's, personal in this instance, where audiences expect a response. Oh, you stand for feminism? Okay. You've stopped talking when there's something huge going on. Once again, I'm losing trust because your voice should be in this and you have nothing to say. I'm confused. Where are you in this conversation, right? And like I said, brands have been called out for this many a times. Oh, you're inclusive? Where are you supporting, the real inclusivity march or something over here? You're silent. When a real issue comes to light, you're silent. So it's understanding, firstly, what you're building your authority on and that trust upon, and then knowing when there are situations or instances that distinctly tie back to that authority and to that trust. Don't go silent. Don't go silent. That's the worst thing you could do. It's like stonewalling someone in a relationship. You're there creating that trust back and forth. And then someone goes, are you still in this with me? And you're just there like, what can you do with that?
Well, the silence is the answer. So, you might as well have told me now I know. And I think you're absolutely right in terms of like brand communications, personal and, businesses and companies. It is the importance of making sure that authority, that trust is the through line on everything that you do, and that you're consistent, because I think that's really what it all boils down to.
Absolutely. So we've spoken about why the trust is broken. Now I want to move more to how do you actually build the trust back?
Yes. So building trust back can be done in a number of different ways, because at the end of the day, as we're all aware of, slip-ups also happen, right? And I think that that's important because we are all human. So one of the first things that I would speak to when it comes to like building trust back is lean further in, right? Like, I fucked up. I'm human. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Own it. Not in a fake way, but in a very real way. We've had instances with clients where something's come out and it was a misstep or maybe they genuinely made that error, right? And it's like you're at a crossroads now. You can either own that error and start to bring people back to the truth. It's going to take time. It's going to be painful. It's going to be difficult, but for what it's worth, that's what we recommend, right? Like, because there is no other, in our mind at least, there is no other alternative to the truth, no other alternative to trust, no other alternative to authority. It's the only thing that's going to matter. There are millions of examples of people in positions of power, of authority, that have made human errors, human mistakes. The ones that crumble and don't make it back are the ones that don't own it. And I've seen it so many times, especially in the social media space. Humans are forgiving by nature. Not everyone, and you're never going to be able to sway everybody, but there's so many examples. Like, even to this day, Logan Paul gets comments around the Japan content that he made. And if you're not familiar with it, we don't even need to go into detail. It was quite some years ago, but he made a very insensitive post about a specific location in Japan that was associated, unfortunately, with people taking their own lives. And even when that sort of thing happened, a lot of people were coming to me because it's in our world, right? And they were like, "Oh, well, he's done. That's the end of him." And I said, "It won't be. I promise you, it won't be," because knowing enough about him was enough to know that he was going to over time lean into authenticity. And he still has some facades that he creates, and he still has characters. Like, he's in the WWE. This is a performative industry, but what he does always come back to, a lot of the time at least, is just like compounded interest in like consistency. And if you keep showing up, you keep addressing these things, you keep pushing through it, eventually you will be able to rebuild a lot of that trust. As I said,
people will learn who you are by nature, because he's also across every platform. He's everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's pretty hard for your true character not to come out. And, whether that's good or bad, people have different opinions about Logan Paul. But yeah, that's something you can't deny, is there is that consistency there. He is also okay to be public about his mistakes and his learnings along the way, and still, I guess, be a model for how you come back and attempt to repair that. But I do think as well, it's interesting, some will come back to apologize and try to repair that trust and incidentally repeat the same behavior. So we often think that, or even often guide our own clients, your audience is there to give you signals. Often they are very much forming that community with you, and in doing that, giving you guardrails as well. So when we see these people with influence and with power potentially make the wrong move, then they've got an option, right? Do I come on and do I apologize? And also, how do I do that? In that moment, your audience is asking you to speak, and they're asking for an authentic, honest apology, a human moment from you, because that was, for Logan, a non-human moment. And then you come on, you set all your cameras up perfectly, you write your script, you read from a teleprompter and say sorry.
And your PR team analyze it 5 times, edit the hell out of it. Yeah.
And you think you've done it right. and you've actually repeated more of the same behavior they didn't want to see again.
This is once again the old game versus the new game, because people fall into that trap of the old way of doing things. You had a PR publicist that would curate things and say messages on your behalf. My client is blah, blah, blah. And we control that media. You don't have that control anymore. It's social media, it's social. And so absolutely, yeah, you have to lean all the way. That's what I mean by you got to lean in deeper. You got to go into that authenticity. I think also wrapping frameworks around trust and building trust as well as building back trust. We're always going to lean into that break, shift, invite sort of content series as well, because you can curate that in a way that is trust evoking, right? Once again, creating specific break content that is addressing that very same thing that you may have lost trust on, or that you're looking to build more trust in. Maybe you haven't lost trust, but you want to gain trust. Well, then create break content, i.e. scroll stopping content that is going to speak specifically to that area of expertise or that area that you want to become known for. Then start doing some shift content that challenges and changes the beliefs around that sort of thing. Well, actually you thought this, but in actuality that. And then of course lead in finally the through line with your invite series content that's going to actually then start inviting them into something. If you are someone that resonates with this, then join this community. If you are someone that has more questions, please feel free to reach out to me here. Join my newsletter. It's a through line, but it's constantly rebuilding and compounding trust.
Yes, and it is applicable to everyone. A lot of people might be listening and thinking, I don't even have an audience. I haven't broken trust with them yet. I haven't even gathered them around yet. But the reality is there's people in your space that have broken the trust. You can leverage that and build from that. What almost pain points do people have from that trust being broken by previous creators, previous founders? So there's a gap there. There's a gap for them right now that you can capitalize on. You can stop the scroll with that break content by going, hey, I know you've been disappointed or you've been cut in such and such a way. Now I'm going to change some sort of, set of beliefs for you so that you can rebuild that trust, so that then when I invite you into my ecosystem, you feel like I'm that person in the space that is going to give you the honest truth and help you actually move towards your goals.
I love that. I think in addition to that, you can then lean into exposing an invisible enemy within all of that, because what you're able to do is leverage the break in trust that these other people in your industry have created, but may not be talked about currently. You yourself can expose that break in trust over there and then create an invisible enemy that wraps that break in trust up to become your USP, to become your actual signal space that you want to start going for. Maybe you're a, fitness trainer, but you're in this sea of other fitness trainers and coaches and everybody's trying to do the same thing. Get a six pack, get a summer bod. And it's like, well, actually, you know what they're breaking trust on is that they're lying to you in the first place. It's not about getting a six pack. It's about being more productive at work. It's about having energy when you get home for your family. It's about getting 8 hours of sleep and feeling great when you wake up. That's what real fitness, health and wellness is.
Yes.
So the enemy that they're telling you about of getting a six pack isn't even the goal. The six pack comes from this health and wellness lifestyle that I'm going to create with you that's also going to positively affect the rest of your life as well. And now that's your USP.
Yes. And even as you just spoke, you just built a frameworks library instead of all this, kind of false talk about abs and things like that, and it feeling a very linear process from I will start at gym, I will follow this program, abs tomorrow. That never happens for just about anyone. In reality, now you've got your sleep, your training, your nutrition, all the other areas that are very real that you spoke about that you can then build very custom frameworks around. You're going, okay, what can I talk about that someone else doesn't? And maybe people are talking about sleep, but are they talking about it in the ways that you are? Maybe they're saying, you know what, get 9 hours. And everybody's going, 9 hours? I'm not achieving that. I can barely get 6. So maybe you're finding a middle ground for people that, you know, is not currently there within the space, not spoken about in a very realistic way. And that's when you start to build frameworks that really do separate you from the rest over time.
I love that. And the last thing, let's wrap this up, but I think the last thing that can kind of tie that up nicely, as you just spoke to in frameworks, we're always leaning into systems, operations, just developing a system and a playbook. Within that is rituals. Within that is language and familiarity. That's another great way that you can compound trust, is because that familiarity is also what becomes like the glue, right? The sticking point, because we all say the same things. We all speak in the same language. We all have the same rituals that we follow, and therefore we're part of that community. And I think that over time, provided again you're consistent around it, your community latches onto that, and that also becomes one of those components of building trust over time.
Absolutely. So it's like, if you're not touting a summer bod, what's the language that you can then use that within your community, that's your understood, identified, shared goal, and everybody can resonate with that and use that and feel like they're really bringing that into their own world.
Yeah, I mean, BPN, Nick Bear, go one more. Like, that is language. That's
anybody can take that and own it, which is what makes it powerful. That's what makes it grow as well.
100%. And it becomes a ritual, because your version of go one more might be one more lap around the walking circuit that you go every day. Another person's version of one more might be, I'm going to get one more hour of sleep than I thought I was going to get, right? But like, go one more becomes language, becomes a ritual, becomes something that community can tack onto. Now, the only job that the owner or the group has is to make sure that stays consistent and shows up every day, because the last thing that they want to do is then be seen to break that ritual and therefore break that trust. So, but that becomes the easy part, right? Consistency should be the easy part. Understanding it and creating it and getting it set is the hard part. And that ultimately is what the trust can sit on. It's the foundation. It's the classic example that we always use of just trying to build a house on a broken foundation. There's no longevity, scalability, or sustainability to that. But once it's set, your job is just to stay consistent.
Absolutely. So how can people go away, rebuild that trust, whether they are coming into, you know, the market and the social landscape for the first time, or whether they themselves have actually broken some trust? We said identify the invisible enemy. So where's the trust been broken that you're going to come in and repair that? Then build some frameworks around it. What are you doing or sharing that other people aren't sharing or aren't sharing in the same way? And then finally, shared rituals, languages, your language that you can own, that everybody can then feel a part of and start using as well.
Love it.
Go.